Hi guys, welcome back to the Hugh Jeffreys video, and in this video I'm going to be repairing this iPad mini 2, which has a cracked screen and faulty touch. I purchased this iPad back in February of this year alongside an iPad mini first generation with their original boxes for $100, meaning each iPad only cost me $50. So in this video I'm going to be working on the iPad mini 2 as I haven't yet repaired the first generation iPad mini. Inside the parcel, I got pretty much just some packaging and the two iPad minis boxed together. Opening up each of the boxes, I could take a look at the condition of both of these iPads. Now, like I said, I'm only going to be working on the iPad mini 2 because I've decided to try and find a housing for the iPad mini first gen with a matching serial number printed on the back, as that definitely needs replacing. Coming back to the iPad mini 2, I can use a hot air rework station to begin to remove the digitizer from the iPad mini 2nd gen. Now, it's good to note with the 2nd gen iPad minis is that the glass is not fused to the LCD panel, meaning the replacement process is much cheaper and easier than newer iPads, as only the glass needs to be replaced. It's also evident that this screen has been replaced before, given just how easy it came up with very little heat. Running my pick around the edge, I can start to lift up the display and it actually folds down towards the bottom. Once inside, I can remove the screws holding in the LCD screen. Unfortunately, there was only 2 of those out of the 4 that were supposed to be installed. Lifting that up, I can move across to remove this metal plate in the middle. You can see that it's also missing a number of screws and isn't really secured very well into place. Removing the 4 screws that were actually still installed, I can remove the plate and move across to disconnecting the LCD and digitizer, which is also missing its bracket and appropriate screws. This isn't looking good, and it's clearly evident that whoever repaired this device had absolutely no idea on screw organization. Connecting up the new digitizer and reconnecting the LCD and battery, I can test out this iPad and actually make sure the touch is functioning on the new digitizer. Booted up into iOS 10, you can see that the digitizer is functioning correctly, but now I need some parts to complete this repair. So I purchased some parts only iPad minis from a fan in Brisbane, shout out to Aiden, and I'm going to be using these to try and fix up these 2 iPads. However, like I said in this video, I'm only going to be using the iPad mini 2 that was included with this parcel. Now, it is actually iCloud locked, but contains all of the screws and brackets that I'll be needing to replace the missing ones in my working iPad mini 2nd generation. As you can see, there's quite a number of more screws installed on this iPad mini 2, and I can remove that missing bracket and I'll later transfer that across to my iPad. Before I install the new screen, I'm going to need to remove all of the old adhesive, so with some cleaning alcohol and a toothbrush, I just applied it on the bezel of the iPad before coming along with a spudger and scraping away any remaining adhesive. Now that that's complete, I can actually apply the new adhesive to the iPad mini. I always apply more adhesive down the bottom on the antennas on every iPad repair I do. This just helps the antennas seat correctly and not make a clicking sound when the screen is pressed down near that area. With that ready to go, I can install the LCD panel back into the iPad, as well as install the battery connector and put its appropriate screws back into place. Installing that metal bracket and all of the screws that it should have from the factory. Before we stick down the display and seal everything up, I'm going to test once again the touch and home button functions of the iPad. I also noticed that there appears to be some water damage to the LCD screen, however, it's not very noticeable on the other side of the screen, so I didn't worry about replacing the display. With the screen pressed down in place, I can install 4 screws this time and give it a good clean and wipe down to remove any fingerprints, smudges, or dirt that are on the display. After I'm satisfied with that, I can install the new digitizer and seal everything back down into the iPad. It's very important that you put the flex cable pointing the right direction. This will just help the screen sit more flush. Once everything has been pressed down, I did however notice that there was a slight issue. Turns out the display is actually separating from the iPad on the sides as the adhesive is just not strong enough. Now, I've actually had this iPad in this condition for about 6 months now after I originally put the screen on. Now, the reason I never posted the video was because I just wasn't satisfied with the result. So, with a hot air station, I'm going to just quickly open up the iPad and fix the issue. I'll need to go ahead and remove the adhesive from both sides of the iPad digitizer, leaving in place the bottom and top adhesive strips as they are actually strong enough to hold the screen onto the iPad. With both strips removed, I can get some industrial strength adhesive and apply it to the edges of the iPad. This stuff is so strong I wasn't even able to cut it in one continuous line. Instead, I had to make lots of short pieces which will actually hold the screen down much better than the adhesive on the replacement display. It's not particularly pretty, but as long as it's holding the screen down and I can't see this adhesive when the screen is stuck down onto the iPad, I'm perfectly happy and fine with the end result. If you're wondering where I got the adhesive, my dad gave me a whole roll of this, and in some way this is used in the fabrication of giant concrete walls. Anyway, I can give the LCD a wipe down once again before I remove the protective film covering up the adhesive strips. Now I can install the screen once again, and this time it should be stuck down for good. Pressing down the top and bottom sections first just to make sure everything's aligned. I also powered on the device and made sure that the home button wasn't pressing when I was pressing around the panel of the glass, which it's not. And you can see this time everything is sitting flush and there is no longer a gap in between the glass and frame of the iPad. And with that, this completes the repair. So this is it, my iPad mini that cost me a total of 75 Australian dollars. It's a 16GB iPad mini 2nd generation running iOS 10.3.3, and it's even complete with its original box. I plan to keep this iPad mini around unless I end up with a newer iPad mini at some point. And on that note, this has been a Hugh Jeffreys video. If you like what you saw, hit that subscribe button and consider checking out the iPad and restoration playlists for more videos just like this one. Also make sure to follow me on my social media, link for which is down in the description. That's all for this video, and I'll catch you guys next time.